Good morning, class 11. This is your teacher, Tushar Aggarwal, with you on the topic functions. Friends, as we study functions, before it we have studied several loops, several things which we have to use. Now, friends, let me discuss with you what do you mean by the term function. Now, what do you mean by the term function? Now, the function is a block of code which runs only when it is called. Now, friends, in functions, we will define a block of code which will only run when we will run it, or we create a block in which we can just by default don't try to call coding again and again for that thing, and we just call the function and it is there. So a function is a block of code which only runs when it is called. You can pass data known as parameters or arguments into a function. We can pass on the data also. A function can result data as result. Now function can return data as a result. We will have output. For example, area of circle. Now area of circle I have made. If I have to use area of pi r square somewhere else than the area of circle, then I need to just call my function area. Now coming to the next point, creating a function. Now friends, how are you? Create a function. In Python, a function is created using the def function, using the def keyword. For example, this my function I have created small braces. Within this we have to put our parameters or arguments. If it is blank, it means no arguments or no parameters have been passed. Now print hello from a function. Now this is only I created, and if I am going to just run this program, it will not be running. Now calling a function. Now to call a function, use the function name followed by parentheses. Parentheses are this. Now I have to call a function, so I have to print my function. So I have to write print my function. That is function calling, that you can call a function. Now what are arguments? Now there are 2 points in the arguments. Let me discuss first and then I will move on to the next. Now information can be passed into functions as arguments. The values that are passed on to the functions are known as arguments. Arguments are specified after the function name inside the parentheses. Now arguments are specified after the function name inside the parentheses. Means inside the parentheses, argument names, let us check. Right, you can add as many arguments as you want, just separate them with comma, like a, comma b, comma c, comma d. Now the term parameter or arguments are different or same. Let us check. Now the terms parameter and arguments can be used for the same thing. Information that are passed on to the function, means whatever the values or functions that are or the values that are passed on to the function are known as arguments or parameters. Now from a function perspective of view, a parameter is the variable listed inside the parenthesis in the function definition, and the argument is the value, means argument is any scalar value and parameter is any function that we can define. Now by default, a function must be called with correct number of arguments. Now argument should be correct. Whatever the number of arguments we have to use, it should be there. Meaning that if your function expects 2 arguments, you have to call the function with 2 arguments, not more or not less. Now for example, I have shown a function. This function now accepts 2 arguments and get 2 arguments. Fname, iname. Now print iname, my function, email, references. Whatever I have typed, it is there. Now moving on to the next thing, default parameter value. Now how to set a parameter value to the default. Now we have studied that what is a parameter, the variable that are passed on to the function are known as parameters. Now if we call a function without argument, it uses default value. For example, I have just passed an argument or parameter called country, which I have defined by default as Norway. Now print I am from plus country. Now it will always carry this. Now these are the by default values passed. There is no value, so it will be Norway. If I will write Sudan, it will be Sudan. It will be India, it will be Brazil, it will be United States. Whatever you will just go through here, the values will be there, right? So now let us move to the practical part. Let me open my Thoni. Okay, this is the Thoni. Now moving on to the practical part, I will open a new document. Now I will just make a simple program to calculate area of triangle, area of circle. Now area of circle is pi r square, right? So first we will define a function with this thing. Now the function will be, we are going to write def. I will write area, in braces I will pass the argument r. R means radius. If you want to write it radius, we can write it radius. Then I will define the value of pi, which is 3.142. Now what I am going to do, I am going to just return the value. Now in return I will write the formula pi. I will remove the bracket, pi star. Now place a bracket r star star r, right? R square, sorry, it is 2. Now this is the definition of the function. Now I want to print my value. Print area is, now area, and I have to pass the value of r, radius here. So value of radius will be, I think, 5. Right here I have to write radius. Now let me save it and run it for you. Very small program which we are doing to find the area of circle using the function. Okay, this is area. Look, it has calculated according to the values. Now you can use this area function anywhere, because now this area function, what we have done in this, we have just made a formula pi r square. Now wherever we have to use these things, I will just substitute this value like this. I have printed with a value, so it will replace all the other things whatever are given to it. So friends, area of circle. Now likewise, if I want to get any other area, like area of triangle or area of just rectangle, area of square, I can get any type of area. So friends, I think that this functions is very much clear to you. This is the very simple example that we can do to demonstrate a function, right? So functions are pi is equal to 3.142, pi is equal to pi r square, area now is 5. What I have done, I have defined a formula, I have defined a function, and then the values are there. Now friends, let me move on to the next program, which is to compute the LCM using the function. To compute LCM using the function. So I will start. Now I will define a function called LCM, and I need to, for this, x comma y, any number of variables can be there. Now if x is greater than y, so greater is equal to x, else, now we can write greater is equal to y. This we have taken. Now in this we will run while true. Now friends, I have written only true. Either of the condition is true, then it will run. Now if greater, I will take the factors. Now x is equal to 0, and greater, what is the next thing? We have to take greater percentage, y is equal to 0. Then what will happen? Then what will happen is LCM is equal to greater. Okay, now I will break the statement with the break the statement, then I will just write greater is equal to increment greater by 1, so where we can check the division. Now return LCM, the function that we want to get. Now what we have to do, we have to take two values. Num1 is equal to int, I will take user input for it, input, enter the values, enter the value, rather I will write 1, right? So I will just copy and paste it. This is my laziness, okay? So I will just copy paste it and I will make it num2. Now friends, look, here I have taken x and y, and here I am taking m1 and n2, so it will not make any impact. We need two values and we will get. Now what we have to do, print. Now what we have to do, print LCM is comma and LCM. What are the values I am passing? L1 comma num2, right? Now I will do this thing and my program is okay. Now I will check whether it will find the LCM or not. Enter the value 1. Suppose I will enter 4, the value 2. Now the function LCM is function LCM at, because it cannot be the LCM. Now I will run it again for you. 54, 24. Now the LCM is, okay, here I have to write. Now it will run accordingly. LCM is 4. So friends, I have taken small LCM here, that's why the function is not callable. Now what we have done, let us understand the program to compute the LCM using the function. I have defined a function called LCM. You can take any name, whatever you want, right? Now here we have defined a function named LCM, in which I have taken two parameters or arguments. You can say these are the variables, so I will call them parameters. Now I have checked if x is greater than y, then greater value will be x, else greater value will be y. Now while true means if x is greater than y, then we have to take the greater with x and greater with y, means we have to take a division and find out the remainder with both, whether they are completely divisible or not, because LCM can be find out if factors are there. If for factors we have to check whether it is completely divisible or not. Now I have transferred the value of greater into the LCM function. This function is having the value of greater. Then I have made a break statement so that if structure will be closed, these are called the jump statements. As I told you, these are the jump statements. Now greater is equal to greater plus 1, because I have to just rotate the value of greater with 1. Now this function is clear. Return LCM. Now this is the function I made for LCM. Wherever I need the LCM, I will use this function and tap up the value. Now what I have taken two numbers, because two arguments have been passed as x and y. For x I can say num1, so it is not important that the name of the parameters and the name of the variables that I am taking the value from the user or defining it directly are same. They can be different. Now num2 is equal to int, input enter value, I can say 2. Now print LCM is, now what I have done, if I will not write this thing, this is okay. Now what I have done, I have called the LCM function and passed on the two values that act as my parameters. Upper way we have in the upper defining the function, we have taken two values x and y. So here I have taken num1 and num2. So friends, as I told you, that function is a block of code that we define for some specific task. Now what I have to do, what is the just specification or importance of a function. Now every time when I have to use LCM, for example, if I will apply Euclid's lemma, or I will apply LCM into HCF is equal to A into B, then I don't need to calculate or write this 11 line code again and again. What I am going to do, I am going to just call my LCM function and pass on these arguments. That's it, right? And the value will be there. So in the we can now, after doing this functions part, where we have done two programs to find the LCM and to find the area, now let me move towards the next one, which is to find out SKI value of a given character. Now, what is SKI value? SKI value stands for American Standard Code for Information Interchange. Right? Now, there are certain SKI values. For example, capital A is having 65 and up to Z we can calculate plus 26, and for small alphabets it is somewhere around 96 or 97. So we will check it. Now, how we can do it is a very simple thing. We have to use a function called ORD, old function. This will display the SKI value of single character, right? Now it will either display or it will convert the, I can say it will convert the SKI value of a single character. Now next, now how we do it? If I will take a variable C is equal to capital A, and now I have to do what I have to do, print ORD, and I will write it here C. Now let it run for you. Look, 65 is there. Now if I will change the value to capital Z, now we will see it is 90. If I will put 95, this is an error because the string of length 2 found. Oh, if I will write here small a. So by this error what we get that we can have only values up to in a single digit. Now if I will write here small z, we are taking the different values at different places, right? So friends, this is the method to find the to convert the normal value to the SKI value. Now we are going to study about math module. Friends, here I am going to tell you about square root. How to find square root? Now import math. Now what if we have to import? Import means we are calling the math module from the Python library. We are calling the math module from the Python. Okay. Now I will use num. If I will give here 4 comma. The first I am talking about a simple thing, underscore sqrt is equal to, now what you can do, num star 0.5. It means num is to power 1 by 2. It means it is square root. So it is so simple to find the square root, right? Now print the square root is comma num underscore sqrt. Now let me check whether we will get correct answer or not. Right, is 2. Okay. Now if I don't want to use it, I will just write here math dot qrt now let me check. The square root is 2. It means I don't need this if I will use math function. This is the importance of math module, that the square root can be calculated directly by using math.sqrt num. That's it. You have to write just 2 lines, math.sqrt and thus. Now let us move to the quadratic equations. Quadratic equations. Now what are quadratic equations? Which are having degree 2, means the highest power is 2. Okay. Now what I have to do, I will import math first, right? Now there are 2 things. We have to calculate discriminant and the roots. discriminant and 2 roots. Now first I will import maths. Now import maths, what I have to do? I have to give three values as ax square plus bx plus c. Ax square plus bx plus c. So a is equal to, I will assume 1, b is equal to, I will assume 5, and c is equal to, I will assume 6. Now the next step is to calculate discriminant. Now how will you create discriminant? D is equal to, what is the formula? B square. Now for square, what we will do? Star star. To always remember, single stars means multiplication and double star means this, minus again 4 into A into C. This is my formula for the discriminant. Now after discriminant, I have to find two roots, or we will say solutions, right? For that we will have, say, solution 1 is equal to, now remember the formula you have studied in your class 10th, minus b. There are two things, because there is plus minus, and in programming we cannot take plus minus both. So minus first I will take. Now b square I will write sqrt, what? D, whatever we have taken, D, divided by 2 into A. This is our formula for discriminant. As you can see, minus b plus minus under root d into 2a divided by 2a. So I have done this. Now I will make it solution 2 and I will make it solution, because we don't have formula that we can calculate plus minus both at a single time. Even in mathematics it is not possible. So now what I will do, I will print the solution is, right, and here I will just write solution. I will put comma here, solution 1 comma solution 2. So now let me save it and check the answer. The solution is minus 3 and minus 2. Now you can check and calculate the values, right? Now let us see whether our values will be changed or not. 5 here, I will write 4 here. No, error, because math domain error. Now the value should be in proportionate. Look, math domain error, because 4, 6, okay, so I will write it here 1, 5 and 6, because the quadratic equation should be right. So friends, this is all about quadratic equation, how you can make it using the math.square root method. One by one I am taking all the methods, whether it is square root method or any other method. Now let me move on to the next part, which is calculating the area of triangle using Heron's formula. Calculating area of triangle using Heron's formula. Right, now Heron's formula is S is equal to B divided by 2. Okay, and now for the function we have A is equal to, under the root, S into S minus A into S minus B into S minus C divided by nothing. Okay, now we will start with the formula. First I have to input the values, sides of the triangle. Now first side will be, I will let it input from the user input, enter the first side. Now b is equal to int input, enter the second side, c is equal to int input, enter the third side. Right? Now what I have to do, I have to calculate semi parameter, which is s. Friends, correct me, I'm not good at mathematics, okay, if I am wrong anywhere. A plus B, you can comment. If I am wrong in formulas, you can just call me, you can do anything you want to do to correct me, okay, but I want corrections from your side. Now I will use math.sqrt. Now math.sqrt, it will be star s minus a star, again I will put the bracket s minus b star. Now friends, as I have told you, it assumes the formula of BODMAS, right? Now what I have to do, print area of triangle is, now let me check whether I am able to find out the area of a triangle or not. I will print area and I will just run it for you, area of triangle. It is getting syntax error. Where I put syntax error? Here. Oh, look, the silly mistakes I am creating, right? So you don't have to. Enter the first side. Suppose I have entered 25, 25, 25. Now math is not defined because what I have done. Now let me check the previous formula. Friends, where I have imported this math function? I have not imported this math function. So we have to import math function if we are using maths. We have to import math function if we are using math. Now enter the first side, 25, 25, 25. My answer will be 2343.75. Now friends, look at the programming that we don't have to do anything. It assumes it automatically and just does it, right? So we have discussed the functions today and the math module. Two things we have discussed. Now for the for defining the function, we have def area is the radius. We have defined a pi value. Otherwise, if we import maths here, pi is also defined as 3.14. It will automatically take the value. Now for LCM, in LCM I have defined a function called LCM, passed two arguments. Rather, I will call them parameters. Now the difference between parameters and arguments. Arguments are the direct values for example 5, 6, 10 I have passed on, and parameters are the values which are the variables, now x, y. Now it is not necessary that the variable name should be similar where we are taking our values. Now functions are the block of codes that we use. Next, I told you a function or RD, order, which converts the value into the equivalent ASCII code. Now ASCII code is all about like your we have known that every character is displayed in the form of a number, so it will be first converted to ASCII value, then to binary digits. Now we have done maths module. Today's square root is taken, so math.sqrt in braces you can write any number that will be square out to be taken. Next is discriminant. Now in discriminant, what we are going to do, a is equal to 1, b is equal to 5, c is equal to 6. I have applied the formula of discriminant, b star star 2. It is quadratic equation, ax square plus bx plus c is equal to 0. Now for there should be two solutions, two roots. One is minus, another is plus, as we are having the formula that this is equal to plus and this is equal to minus. Now I will put these things also here. Right, and run it for you, because I am getting invalid syntax where this is 1, okay, this is 2. Okay, I will remove it because these are the errors. Okay, so our formula is this and we have to do these things. If you want to apply this,